Marhaba and welcome to my channel, My Arabic Class. If you are interested in learning Arabic but you don't know from where to start, or you are just a beginner, don't worry, this channel is highly recommended for you. In today's video, I would recommend you to watch it if you are a complete beginner, or if you already learned Arabic but you are forgetting, or you think you are saying things wrongly. Also watch this video, it will help you to refresh your memories on what we've already learned in my previous video. In today's video, we are going to cover up the Arabic alphabet. I'm going to give you daily words that are useful and helpful in today's life, in daily life. Then we're gonna go through 6 new words, and finally we'll have a little bit of a grammar on the singular and plural, which we already covered up in our previous videos. So let's begin with our first objective, the alphabet. There are 28 letters in Arabic alphabet and we are going through them now. Alif, Ba, Ta, Tha, Jim, Ha, Kha, Dal, ذال راء زاي سين شين صاد ضاد طاء ظاء عين غين فاء قاف كاف لام ميم نون هاء Wow. Yeah. Now I'm gonna read them out slowly, one by one. Alif, 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 Ba, Ba, B, Ba, Ba, Ta, Ta, like a T, but Ta, Ta, Tha, 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 Jim, Jim, like jeep, but Jim, Jim, Ha, 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 Kha, 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 Dal, 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 Zal, Sagza, Zal, Zal, Ra, 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 Zai, 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 Sin, Sin, it's like you've seen something, Sin, Shin, Sheen, Sheen, Sad, this is a hard letter, Sad, 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 Dad, 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 Ta, Ta, Ta and Ta are similar but be careful, Dha, 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 عين 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 غين 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 فاء 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 قاف 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 كاف 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 لام لام like a lamb لام ميم 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 نون نون good afternoon نون نون هاء 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 wow wow, it's like wow, wow. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So let's repeat them all one more time, and I want you guys to read them out with me. ألف باء تاء ثاء جيم حاء خاء دال ذال راء زاي سين شين صاد ضاد طاء نتاء طاء ظاء نضاد ظاء عين غين فاء فاء قاف قاف كاف كاف لام ميم نون هاء 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 واو ياء. Objective number 1 is covered. We did the alphabets. Now let's go to objective number 2, daily words. But before I start, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and tell a friend about our channel. This will help us to support it. Word number 1 is yes. How do we say yes in Arabic? نعم نعم نعم. But sometimes you would hear people say a. نعم and a means yes. How do we say no in Arabic? No is لا لا or لا 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 or لا. How do we say maybe in Arabic? ربما ربما or يمكن يمكن ربما or يمكن. How do we say please in Arabic? أرجوك 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 or لو سمحت لو سمحت. أرجوك or لو سمحت. How do we say thanks in Arabic? شكرا شكرا شكرا. How do we say a lot in Arabic? كثيرا كثيرا or كتير كتير كثيرا or كتير. Now how do you say welcome in Arabic? عفوا عفوا شكرا عفوا thank you welcome عفوا عفوا. How do we say hi in Arabic? مرحبا مرحبا or you could hear سلام سلام مرحبا سلام. How do we say bye? وداعا وداعا or مع السلامة مع السلامة وداعا مع السلامة. How do you say good morning? صباح الخير صباح الخير صباح الخير. How do we say good evening? مساء الخير مساء الخير مساء الخير. How do we say excuse me? عذرا عذرا لو سمحت لو سمحت عذرا لو سمحت. Okay, how do we say okay? حسنا حسنا or you could say طيب طيب. طيب could also mean delicious. How do we say I? أنا أنا. I means أنا. How do we say no, the word no, as if like knowledge? No. أعلم أعلم or you could say أعرف أعرف أعلم أعرف. So how do we say I know? أنا أعلم. أنا means I and أعلم means know. أنا أعلم. Or you could say أنا بعرف. أنا بعرف. In Arabic you don't have to say me. You can just cancel the word أنا and say أعلم or بعرف. Just بعرف. أعلم means I know. We took I know, but how do we say I don't? ما. You have to just know the word ما and add it to أنا. بعرف. Or again, you don't have to say أنا. You just go with ما بعرف. أنا ما بعرف. But formally you say أنا لا أعلم. I know. أنا لا أعلم. Or لا أعلم. Literally in English it means لا أعلم. No. It doesn't make sense in English, but it makes a lot of sense in Arabic. So أنا ما بعرف. أنا لا أعلم. Third thing we are going to do in today's video is learn new words. I'm gonna give you 6 new words in order to improve your vocabulary for now. Later, we are going to use these 6 words in order to change them from singular to plural. But for now, we need to learn them. So, our first word is, how do we say home in Arabic? منزل. Home means منزل. منزل means home. But sometimes you would hear the word بيت. Bait is more common than the word منزل. So how do we say home? منزل or بيت. Also, how do we say car? Car in the formal and official Arabic is known as مركبة. مركبة means car, but the more common and the used one is سيارة. سيارة, car, but you could also say مركبة. So how do we say the word? Third word would be, how do we say girl in official formal Arabic? فتاة means girl, but you would hear a lot of people saying bint instead of فتاة, which also means the same. Bint, فتاة means girl. Fourth word would be, how do we say television or TV? Okay, it's تلفاز, but I recommend you guys to use more of تلفزيون because this is more common. So learn تلفزيون, you would hear it more than تلفاز. Our fourth word would be orange, but in Arabic, orange the fruit isn't like orange the color. So when I say orange the fruit, I mean the word برتقالة. It is talking about the fruit that we eat. So برتقالة is the orange, the fruit, but برتقالي is the color. برتقالة and برتقالي is not the same as the word orange. So remember that. How do we say the word bus? Bus could mean حافلة. Don't say حفلة. حفلة means a party. Let's memorize only حافلة means bus. So I think we did the new words, but just let's repeat them one more time. Okay, starting with our first word, home. How do we say home? منزل. Or بيت. منزل, Bait means home. How do we say car? سيارة, سيارة, or مركبة, مركبة. سيارة, مركبة means car. Home means منزل or بيت. سيارة, مركبة is a car. Now, how do we say girl? فتاة, فتاة, or بنت, 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 or بنت, 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 بنت same. How do we say TV? تلفزيون, the more common تلفزيون, but again تلفاز, تلفاز is the proper Arabic. تلفاز, تلفاز. Girl, فتاة, بنت أو بنت. تلفاز, تلفزيون means TV. Now, how do we say the word orange? Orange as a color, برتقالي, برتقالي. But as a fruit, it is known as برتقالة, برتقالة. Be careful when you see ها, it means the fruit. برتقالي, the color. How do you say bus? حافلة, 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 حافلة. So we have برتقالي, the orange color, برتقالة, the fruit, and bus. Okay, so we are done with our third objective. Our fourth objective in today's video is gonna be about the singular and plural. So based on the word that we have learned, we are going to make them plural. Now, it's not like in English you put es, s, I, e, s by the end of the word. It has a proper way to do it, which I'll be teaching you in today's video. But before we start, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Leave a comment for any questions. Now, let's start. Firstly, I would like to introduce you 5 rules about the singular and plural before doing it. So let's go with rule number 1. Rule number 1. When you see an open ta, it is called ta مفتوحة. When you see this type of ta next to a ya in the middle of the word, you add a waw next to the ya. I would like you to note this down before we're going through the examples. Rule number 2. If you don't see any waw, alif, ya, open ta, or a closed ta, ta مفتوحة, or ta مربوطة in the word, you only add alif to the letter to the next letter. Now again, I just want you for now to write this down. Rule number 3. When you see ta مربوطة, you replace it with a mad and ta مفتوحة in the end of the word. Now, rule number 4. When you see ta مفتوحة in the end of the word without any waw, alif, ya, these are known as أحرف العلة, which are responsible in singular and plural. So you must learn it's waw, alif, ya. Literally in Arabic, you read them as the word y. You add alif next to the ta مفتوحة, which makes it a plural. Rule number 5. When you see ta مربوطة and the mad alif in the end of the word, you must add aya after the mad alif and always change the ta مفتوحة to ta مربوطة to ta مفتوحة. In plural, you cannot see a ta مربوطة. You would always keep it as a ta مفتوحة. That is our last rule. Now we will go for examples and we will solve them one by one. So we did take the word home, which means منزل or بيت, but let's take the word بيت. And how do we make them houses. How do we make them to plural? How do we make bait to be many homes? So rule number 1 is all about when you so let's read rule number 1 and apply it now. Rule number 1 is when you see an open تاء مفتوحة in the word. Do we see an open تاء in this word تاء مفتوحة? Yes, we do by the end of the word. Next to a ياء in the middle of the word. Do we see any ياء in the middle of the word? Yes, we do. Meaning that we would only add a واو before the ta next to the ya, and the word would end up being from bait to biyut. Biyut. That is how rule number 1 is applied. Now let's practice for more example. Home could also mean منزل. So how can I make this plural? Let's do it one by one by seeing the rules. So rule number 1. Our example is منزل. Rule number 1 says when you see an open ta. Do we see an open ta in the word منزل? No, we don't. Meaning that we must go to rule number 2, since this rule can't be applied here. Now our example is منزل. Rule number 2, if you don't see any واو ألف ياء تاء مفتوحة تاء مربوطة in the word, do we see واو? No. Do we see ألف? No. Do we see ياء? No. Do we see تاء مفتوحة? No. Do we see تاء مربوطة? No. Meaning that this rule can't be applied into this word. So what do we do when we don't see any of these words? You only add ألف to the next letter, which means we can add an ألف to the second letter, which is منزل, making it منازل. منازل. Now, next example. How do we say the word car in Arabic? مركبة. مركبة. So let's use this word and make it a lot of cars by going through the rules one by another. Let's solve this together. Rule number 1. When you see تاء مفتوحة next to a ياء, do we even see a تاء مفتوحة in this word? No, we don't. Meaning that this rule wouldn't be applied over here. Let's go to rule number 2 then. Rule number 2, if you don't see a واو, yes, we don't see a واو, مد ألف, we don't see ألف in this word. ياء, no, in مركبة there is no ياء. تاء مفتوحة, no, we don't see a تاء مفتوحة in this word. تاء مربوطة, but there is a تاء مربوطة in this word. Now again, this means that rule number 2 can't be applied here. Let's go to rule number 3 then. Rule number 3. When you see تاء مربوطة, yes, there is a تاء مربوطة in the word مركبة, مركبة. You add مد ألف and تاء مفتوحة, replacing the تاء مربوطة. Meaning that in this word, you're gonna add after the word letter باء a مد ألف and a تاء مفتوحة, making the word to become مركبات. 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 It is a common mistake that even Arabs themselves say مراكب instead of مركبات. Well, it is wrong. Just you can't say مراكب. It is مركبة, مركبات. So let's solve word number 4 maybe. سيارة. How do we say سيارة to cars, for instance? Rule number 1. When you see an open تاء مفتوحة. Do we see a تاء مفتوحة in the word سيارة? It is a closed تاء. Let's go to rule number 2 then. Rule number 2. When you don't see any واو, مد, ياء, تاء مفتوحة, تاء مربوطة. No, yes, we do see a تاء مربوطة over here. So again, rule number 2 can't be applied here. Let's see rule number 3 then. Rule number 3. When you see تاء مربوطة, yes, there is a تاء مربوطة here. You add مد ألف and an open تاء replacing the closed تاء, making it سيارات. سيارات. From سيارة to سيارات. Now, how do we say the word girl in Arabic? بنت. بنت. So how do we make it from bint to girls? Let's solve this together. When you see an open ta, yes, next to a ya, no, it's next to a nun, not a ya. So let's go to rule number 2 then. Rule number 2. When you don't see واو, ألف, يا, تاء مفتوحة. No, we do see a تاء مفتوحة. So let's go to rule number 3 then. When you see تاء مربوطة, there is no تاء مربوطة here. So again, rule number 3 can't be applied here. So let's go to rule number 4 then. Rule number 4. When you see a تاء مفتوحة in the end of the word. Yes, we do see a تاء مفتوحة right at the end of this word. So what do we do next? We check if there is any واو, ألف, يا in the word. بنت, there is no واو, ألف, يا. You add an ألف and a تاء مفتوحة just before the تاء مفتوحة, making it the word from bint to بنات. بنات. Now, how do we change the word فتاة to many girls? Let's again see by doing it together, following the rules. Our word or our example is فتاة. When you see a تاء مفتوحة, no, we don't see a تاء مفتوحة. Let's go to rule number 2 then. Rule number 2. When we don't see واو, ألف, ياء, تاء مربوطة, تاء مفتوحة, we do see a تاء مربوطة. So rule number 3. Let's see if we can find the answer in rule number 3. Rule number 3 is when you see تاء مربوطة, you add an ألف and a تاء مفتوحة, but there is already an ألف before it, meaning that no, we can't do that. Rule number 4. What is rule number 4 about? Rule number 4. When you see تاء مفتوحة, تاء مفتوحة is there is a تاء مفتوحة, but it is not in the end of the word. So no, rule number 4 can't be there. Rule number 5. Rule number 5. When you see a تاء مربوطة, yes, there is a تاء مربوطة and an ألف or a كماد next to each other in the end of the word, you must add a ياء and after the مد ألف, And always change the تاء مربوطة to a تاء مفتوحة. That's like a must. You can never see a تاء مربوطة in a plural word. It's always a تاء مفتوحة. So it would end up being from فتاة to فتيات. فتيات. So let's repeat everything we did all over. So how do we say home? Home is بيت. بيت. And in plural it is going to be بيوت. بيوت. We just add a wow after the ya. Another word we did was منزل. منزل. منازل. منازل. We add a mad to the next second letter. We also did take the word car. Car is سيارة. سيارات. سيارات. سيارة. سيارات. We always add a mad alif and open the ta when we see this. Also we did take bus. حافلة. حافلة. حافلات. حافلات. Because there is a تاء مربوطة and there must be an alif after the تاء مفتوحة. حافلات. سيارة. سيارات. حافلة. حافلات. We also did take another word which was girl, which means bent. Bent. There is an open ta, but there isn't a ya next to it, so it would end up being بنات. بنات. Bent. بنات. But what about the word TV? تلفاز. How do we solve تلفاز? Okay, let's do this exercise together, but make sure you pause the video and write your answers in the comments. I want to see if this was helpful. Now let me solve it together. We would follow rule number 1. Rule number 1 is all about if when you see an open ta right after a ya. Do we see this? No, we don't. So let's move to rule number 2 then. Rule number 2 is when if you don't see any واو ألف ياء تاء مفتوحة. No, we do see a تاء مفتوحة. It is like right at the beginning of the word تلفاز. So rule number 2 can't be applied here. Let's move on to rule number 3 then. Rule number 3, when you see تاء مربوطة, I don't see any تاء مربوطة in here. تلفاز, no تاء مربوطة. تاء مربوطة always comes at the end of the letter, and the last letter is زي or Z. So let's move to rule number 4 then. Rule number 4. When you see a تاء مفتوحة. تاء مفتوحة there is, but not in the end of the word. So no, rule number 4 can't be applied. Let's go to rule number 5 and see if we can find the answer there. Rule number 5. When you see a تاء مربوطة, تاء مربوطة always comes like right in the end of the word. تلفاز, there is no تاء مربوطة in the end. So rule number 5 is not here. Meaning that when none of the rules is applied, or you can see that you can't do anything in these rules, then the word would stay as تلفاز. You don't have to change anything. تلفاز. تلفاز, singular and plural. It would say the same. So I guess we did a lot for today's video. Now guys, if you are a beginner and you are interested in learning Arabic from the start, this channel is highly recommended for you. That's why I recommend you guys to subscribe, like, and comment for any questions. I'll be there to help you. Thank you, and have a great day. Bye. مع السلامة. And shukran for watching.